guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. Just coming to the end of our second week of lockdown, and we learned yesterday that the government has extended this for another 2 weeks. The good news is it seems to be working. Malaysia seems to have a pretty good handle on this coronavirus. They're still able to track contacts of individuals who have contracted the disease, and anybody that wants a test can get one. So things are looking good here. To all you guys out in the UK and in the United States, I know your lockdowns have just started, but from what I see in the news, particularly from the UK now, the hospitals are starting to fill up. It isn't just old people, it's young people too. Please do stay at home, spare a thought for everyone else around you, some of whom are not so lucky as you, and let's just knuckle down, pull together and get over this thing. Before we go any further, Gomez Pythons, big shout out to them. They sent me a t-shirt and they sent me a note with these awesome stickers, so thanks to Gomez Pythons, thank you, much appreciated. We still are getting mail delivered even though we're locked down. Okay guys, so whilst I've got a bit of time on my hands, we're going to take a look at my Stacking of Genes series part 3. This is where it gets interesting. We start to look at some more complex combinations, some multi-gene animals where it's almost impossible to tell what genes you have in there unless you know what the parents are, and you get a look at the siblings so that you can start to sort out the various genes, what genes look like when they're stacked in slightly different combinations. And we'll see today some examples of genes in the siblings that when you mix and match them with some of the genes, they give a look that's quite different to when they're stacked with other genes. So it just depends how you stack the genes and what they're stacked with as to what the expression in the animals will look like. So we'll end with some clown projects that I'm particularly excited about, so let's take a look. Okay, we've had a look at some simple 1, 2 and 3 gene combos. Let's take a look at something a little bit more complicated. This is a female that I produced in 2019. Obviously a lot going on in this girl. Let's just take a look at the head stamp. Very, very white, clean head stamp. This crazy blushed out pattern down the sides with all the flames coming up down the sides. Let's just take a look at the belly, the speckling along the undersides of the belly. We have this crazy spotted pattern. And we have a dorsal stripe that goes down from the head, a creamy dorsal stripe that dies out along the length of the spine and becomes completely blushed out. So clearly a lot going on in this very squirrely girl. Let's see if we can figure it out by looking at some of the siblings. So this little guy here is clearly just a het for clown. He's a normal, there's nothing else in this guy. So if you like, this is our blank canvas, this is our starting point that we're going to stack our genes onto in order to produce the snake that you just saw. So blank canvas and the snake we're trying to produce. So what is in this girl here that this guy here doesn't have? So there you go, you can see the starting point and the end point, and we're going to try and figure it out. Let's take a quick look at Dad. This is a pastel yellow belly spot nose, no clown in this one. You can see the head pattern, the spot behind the neck. You can see the distinctive pattern with this distinctive fish hook pattern down the side here. And if we turn the animal sideways, you can see the blushing on the sides and the typical yellow belly digital edge to the belly pattern here. So this is the father, this is pastel spot nose yellow belly, and this is mum. This is a pastel vanilla clown. She bred for me last year and produced the clutch that we're about to look at. You can see that she does have the typical pastel clown head stamp, and the vanilla is what softens and keeps bright this extreme yellow down the side. So she's kept her colour extremely well. She's a very soft pastel yellow colour, and that's the combination of vanilla and pastel together in this clown girl. So very important when you're trying to sort out what the genes are is to know what the parents are. So the parents in this case are pastel vanilla clown, and the father is pastel spot nose yellow belly. So we have vanilla, spot nose, yellow belly, and 2 copies of pastel. So it is possible to get super pastels in this clutch. So that's the parents, and this girl is gravid again this year. So the first of the siblings I want to show you is another female. This one is very bright yellow with a banded pattern. The head stamp is a little bit brighter with the yellow head stamp, and the characteristic feature of this girl is the extreme flames and blushing up the sides. So if we look at the belly, you can see the digital pattern along the edges of the belly. So this guy here is yellow belly, but it's a very bright yellow belly. Normally yellow bellies look much closer to a normal. Because this guy is so bright, I think we have vanilla in here too. Vanilla is a very strong brightening gene. So I think this combination is yellow belly and vanilla. And if we put our 2 snakes side by side, you can see where this girl here gets her extreme flames and blushing up the side. If we look at the sides of both of these snakes, you can see the similarity in the flames and blushing up the side. So trying to keep them all together for the camera here, you can see that this girl almost certainly has the yellow belly in her with the flames up the side, and she's also quite bright, so we're going to say probably vanilla in this girl also. But we'll take a look at some of the other siblings to just confirm that. So this is the next snake we're going to look at, and this is very bright. You can see from the head stamp and the white lips that this is pastel. So we have pastel in this, and it's very, very bright. And we don't have the wacky pattern, so this is probably pastel vanilla. Vanilla being the brightening gene that keeps this thing really, really bright. You can see that there's quite a large amount of blushing on the dorsal from the pastel. And this guy here also has quite a large amount of flames up the side. So the really bright yellow with the flaming up the sides tends to suggest that this might also be yellow belly. So let's just put it side by side with the yellow belly. So this is the yellow belly that we looked at earlier, and you can see the similarity in colour and why I'm saying this girl here is vanilla yellow belly. So this guy here is vanilla yellow belly with pastel, and pastel is putting back into it this a regular pattern that the Yellow Belly without pastel does not have. And you can see the similarity. This is the Yellow Belly girl with the blushing up the sides, and this is the pastel vanilla, also with the same flames up the side. So I'm thinking that this is pastel vanilla and Yellow Belly compared to this sibling here, which has a very similar pattern, a much more intense blushing, much whiter, a less yellow coloured snake. Let's have a look at the head stamps. So the two head stamps side by side, one is much lighter than the other. So this guy here also does not have the same amount of flaming up the sides. So I think what we have here is pastel vanilla and super pastel vanilla from the whiter head and the more extreme blushing, and this guy here may have Yellow Belly because of the intense flaming up the sides. So super pastel vanilla and pastel vanilla, possible Yellow Belly. Let's compare each of these snakes to the multigene female. So this is the pastel vanilla, possible Yellow Belly, and here we go side by side. You can see the head stamps are different. This girl has a much more blushed head stamp than this one. This has a single copy of pastel. More than likely this is super pastel because of the head stamp and also because of the much lighter colour. This one is much more intense yellow than this one. So I'm thinking super pastel Yellow Belly vanilla, at least for this girl, when we compare it to the single pastel vanilla Yellow Belly over here. And now let's compare these two girls here. This is the super pastel vanilla with the white blushing on the dorsal, and if we try to compare the head stamps, you can see the head stamps are very similar. So both of these are super pastel. The colour is also very similar. So super pastel in this combination gives this softer yellow colour that we can see from this snake here. So we have more than likely super pastel, vanilla, Yellow Belly, but there's something else going on in this girl here to give this crazy spotted pattern. We don't get that pattern in just the pastel vanillas. So something going on in the multigene girl that is giving this crazy spotted pattern. So let's go on to the next one, and you can see immediately that this one has the crazy spotted pattern that we're after. Has a very light head stamp, so is more than likely super pastel. Not particularly bright, so more than likely does not have vanilla. And you can see the dorsal is very blushed, but we're not getting the flames up the side here. So this is not Yellow Belly either. What I think we're looking at here is just super pastel spot nose. Let's compare that to the super pastel vanilla, and you can see the similarity in the head stamps from the super pastel, but you can also see, even in the super pastel version, how vanilla brightens up the snake from this to this. So this has vanilla, this does not. This is super pastel, this is super pastel. This has the crazy spotted pattern, this one does not. This has a much more regular pattern, so this is spot nose. So we have super pastel spot nose and super pastel vanilla. We already saw how the super pastel vanilla gives the right colour that we're looking for in our multigene girl. Let's have a look how the spot nose influences our multigene girl. Okay, so now you can see when I put these guys side by side, it's very difficult to pick up where the pattern on one snake stops and the pattern on the next snake starts. So this girl is getting her pattern from the spot nose. If we just have a look at the two head stamps, you'll see this is Super Pastel with the white head stamp, and this girl here also, we put them side by side, head stamps are very similarly blushed out. Now the curious thing about the dorsal on the Super Pastel, you can see how the neck stripes start off fairly well defined in both of these snakes, and then the pattern breaks down on this Super Pastel spot nose. The pattern breaks down along the dorsal as it does on this girl here. So again, it's that combination of spot nose and Super Pastel that gives this blushed out dorsal on this girl. So I think we're starting to get a pretty good handle on the multi-gene animal here. We've identified vanilla, we've identified Super Pastel, we've identified yellow belly, and we've identified spot nose in this girl based upon looking at the siblings. There's another snake that I want to show you that will just clinch the deal. So this is Super Pastel spot nose, no vanilla in this one. And the last snake here is actually a carbon copy of Dad. You can see from the head stamp that it's pastel. You can see from the crazy spotted pattern that it is spot nose, and you can see from the flames on the side and the digital pattern on the belly that this is pastel spot nose yellow belly. So let's compare that first of all to our Super Pastel spot nose. This is our Super Pastel spot nose, and again you can see the similarity of the pattern. The head stamps, if I can get them together, you can see that one, this guy here, is more blushed. The Super Pastel is more blushed than the single copy of Pastel. You can see the characteristic bow ties here on the spot nose yellow belly, and again the characteristic bow ties on this Super Pastel spot nose. So apart from the colour, the Super Pastel washing this one out and the yellow belly keeping this one dark with very yellow sides, the pattern is almost identical. So Super Pastel spot nose and Pastel spot nose yellow belly. Let's compare the Pastel spot nose yellow belly to our multi-gene combo just to clinch the deal. Okay, if I can get them to sit still for a moment, you can see the similarity in the pattern and the flaming up the side. So this is spot nose, and this also has spot nose in it. So this is a carbon copy of Dad, Pastel spot nose yellow belly, and this is everything. Super Pastel spot nose vanilla yellow belly. Okay guys, that was a little bit difficult to control all of those snakes, but I hope you found that useful in reviewing the siblings. Not only did this snake help us to identify what's in the siblings, but the siblings also helped us to identify what's in this girl. And of course this is the prize from the clutch. This is the girl with everything. Super Pastel, spot nose, vanilla, yellow belly, het for clown. So as I've said many times, if somebody puts a snake on the table and asks you what this snake is, there are some characteristics that will guide you. We've looked at Enchi, Fire and Orange Dream, for instance. Easy to spot what some of those genes are that are involved. But with this girl here, unless you know what the parents are so that you can work out the possible combinations, that should always be your starting point. And even then, with this girl, almost impossible to be able to tell exactly what's in there. You also need to get a look at all of the siblings too, and start looking at the differences between the siblings in order to help you identify definitively what you have in some of your multi-gene combos. I'm going to put these squirrely girls away now. So given that I'm working with clowns, this is a vanilla clown female that's almost up to size, and knowing what we know about the genes that go well with this combination, we need to get spot nose and we need to get yellow belly into this combination to improve this snake. And you'll see that the pattern on the snake gives us plenty to work with. Yellow belly does its best work down the sides here, plenty to work with there. So this is vanilla clown, but contrast that with my recent pickup from the US. This is a red striped clown, and now you can start to see that if we put spot nose and yellow belly into this combination with red stripe, this is a much higher contrast animal, a much darker, richer red colour, and much more pattern to work with down the flanks for yellow belly to improve on. So spot nose, yellow belly into the red stripe is also obviously going to be a winner. So this girl will be paired with my spot nose, yellow belly pastel het for clown male. So this should be an awesome pairing. We should get red stripe, spot nose, yellow belly clown combos from this. So that's where I'm heading with this red stripe girl, and that will obviously start to give me some combos which are very Pompeii like. So next year guys, next year, this animal here is a female clown, and I have no clue what is in this animal. This is an exciting animal that I picked up from ARP Constrictors that we're calling the X-Clown. But now you can see with the genes that I'm working with why I'm so excited about working with this clown girl. It has an awful lot of pattern down the sides, and we know what pattern down the sides works really well with. It works really well with yellow belly, so we can add yellow belly to this. Some of the characteristics of this snake are both Enchi and fire. Looks like a cross between the two. So Enchi and fire mixed into this girl will also be a nice complement to see what this girl has in her. She isn't red stripe, but if you take a look at the red stripe clown girl next to her, the thing that attracts the red stripe is the richness of the colour, plus all of this pattern down the sides that we have to work with when we add other genes. You can see that this girl here takes it one step further. Very high contrast and lots of pattern to play with down the side. The broken dorsal. I think this girl is going to be awesome when we bring yellow belly, Enchi, fire, possibly pastel. If we get fire in there, will be a good combination. So you can see why I'm so excited about working with this girl in the future, as well of course as the red striped clown. So I have two projects on the go here. This one I know where I'm headed. I'm going towards the Pompeii. This one I have no clue what this girl is going to turn out like, but I do know what genes I want to mix to try to enhance this look. So this is my X-Clown female. Just look at that pattern guys. There is so much on this girl to work with, and look at the belly. The belly is quite unique. It does have some belly pattern which is very reminiscent of yellow belly, but a lot of pattern down at the bottom end of the snake for us to work with when we do add yellow belly. Leopard may also be a good mix for this girl. Leopard always works well in clown and would enhance the darkness of this girl. But this is an awesome clown that I have no idea what she actually is. But I do know what I want to mix with it. Okay guys, stay safe. I hope things get better for you guys. Things are under control here. Just a quick word about managing your snakes in this lockdown situation. Supermarket shelves are empty. It's tough to get deliveries. If you don't breed your own rats, you may not have a sufficient stock of rats. You may be running out in the freezer, and you may be running out of rat food, and your rats stop producing babies. your snakes are going to last just fine. So what I'm doing here, I do have rats in my mini rat rack outside for my smaller snakes, and I do have food for them, so I'm lucky in that regard in that I'm still producing fuzzy rats and small rats. They do get consumed before they get a chance to grow any larger, but I do have a stock in the freezer. What I'm doing here is prioritizing my breeder females. Many of my breeder females are already off food, so that's not an issue. The ones that are still eating, I am prioritizing those, and they are still getting fed once a week. The rest of my snakes, I am scaling back their feeding regime. Instead of once a week, it'll drop to once every 10 days or once every 2 weeks even for some of my larger males. They'll manage just fine on a meal every 2 weeks. So that will help me to spread out my stock of rats. I hope that helps you with a few hints on what I'm doing just to spin out your supply of rats wherever you are. Don't worry about your snakes. They can live for months without food. If push comes to shove, all it will mean is that some of your breeder females won't lay eggs this year and you'll have a bad season. But if, like me, you have at least enough food to feed your breeder females, you should get through this just fine, and your snakes will get through it just fine as well. Okay guys, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.